Welcome to Elitmind Academy Podcast, ElitTalk. ElitTalk is a breakthrough technology, AI and ML, data and cloud-oriented podcast created by top experts in the field of MDW solutions and analytics. Together with our guests, we present the newest updates in leading technology vendors.
Hello and welcome to the new episode of ElitTalk. My name is Andrzej Ermel and I'm your host. I'm digital advisor at Elitmind and today we will be talking about ESG. With me I have quite a special team, Elitmind team. We have Barbara Głowala, legal counsel and compliance and ESG expert from Elitmind. Hi Basia.
Hello.
And we also have Sylwia Pawlaczyk, our product safety and compliance engineer, our regulatory expert who has quite an extensive experience in terms of auditing, and we'll be talking about this aspect as well. Hi, Sylwia.
Hi all. Thank you for having us.
All right. So in order to start, Basia, maybe, and this is quite a tricky question, what is your expectation or how do you look at in the respect of the new ESG reporting standards? How you look at it? What is your dream about this kind of topic?
Thank you, Andrzej. It's much easier for me to say what is my nightmare that would keep me, awake at night. And I can imagine a situation when I'm getting promoted to a sustainability manager or ESG officer in an organization that starts its journey with ESG. And my task is to plan and report the whole ESG area according to the new EU standards. And then I can really imagine trying to find any information relating to sustainability agenda in the organization, trying to identify the owners. The biggest nightmare is this flying Excels with tons of data that nobody verified and make no sense when you put them together. And at the end of the year, you need to try to defend the data in front of the auditors and release your report. Mm-hmm. And that would be the worst dream of a person like that. And I can really imagine that. So that's why I think we discuss today to make this nightmare not happen in many organizations. So my real dream would be to start building a solid sustainability strategies in the organizations, regardless of what function you are, actually, because this is the effort of the whole teams. And, if I am to think from this, let's say, technical perspective, my wishful thinking, I would like to have a magic button, which I click basically, and the systems generate the data into one dashboard. These are up to date, these are reliable, and these are of a quality that the organization already report in regards to financial data. So I can easily defend them. I have all the evidence to defend them, and I am not having the sleepless nights when the report is being issued. So that would be definitely my dream.
Okay, so in order that we are talking about dreams, not the nightmares, let's try to. And you mentioned also, I think that the word strategy is quite important here. So let's start to unpack this whole complicated issue of what ESG is. And maybe if I could ask you, can you a little bit explain to everyone what are the origins of ESG, how it all started, and how you look at it from your perspective?
Okay, so basically, to be short and not to repeat many things that were already explained, ESG basically covers the environmental, social, and corporate governance aspects of making business, because we are now talking about this business environment. These all, agenda starts from many years ago. It used to be corporate social responsibility. Then it changed into some green responsibility, etc., etc. And now it's packed under this definition into one, let's say, requirement, or let's say a group of requirements that the companies will need to meet very soon. Some of the companies already need to have the strategies and report on these strategies, and these are the companies that were obliged to do so under the non-financial reporting directive issued a couple of years ago. Then the following regulations from the EU Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation for the financial sector. Then the next was the EU taxonomy that is in place. Some companies already report under the taxonomy requirements. And the newest regulation is this corporate sustainability reporting directive. That is very fresh. We have no final requirements on the reporting standards yet, but these are under preparation. And the directive somehow integrates all these previous requirements together. It will apply to a very big group of companies quite soon. It will be implemented in stages, starting from the biggest players, listed companies, and then rolled to smaller companies, including small and medium enterprises at the end. So the CSRD will basically introduce over 150 indicators that companies will have to monitor on an ongoing basis, and in the end, basically report them according to similar standards that apply to financial reporting. So this will need to be transparent, this will need to be comparable, this will need to be auditable. So many difficult challenges in front of us resulting from these requirements.
So I think it's not an accident that we are talking about this, but Sylwia, maybe can you give your perspective why now is the right time to start talking about this in a more serious manner, and how you look at this whole topic from the timeline perspective? I think this would be also a good point of view.
Yeah, sure. So as a background, I think we all seen that this is coming because the environmental awareness of the consumer increased. So we all heard about the climate changes, about issues for like turtles in the sea and that kind of stuff. So also the law was heading into that direction. So lately it was implemented this single plastic use or single-use plastic directive. So we all noticed, like, McDonald's replaced their plastic like spoons with this wooden, substitutes. So all of those activities were coming. However, a new directive regarding this corporate sustainability reporting set some clear deadlines right now that are different for different types of the companies. And generally, it's very important to see and actually identify to which deadlines your company must adjust to, because it depends on the company, like turnover, employees quantity, and that kind of thing. So the big companies that have like more than 500 employees needs to start the activities around the reporting or data collection from 1st January 2024. So you see it's quite close. So they need to be ready for their first reporting due to 2025. So it's really coming and it's quite fast. And of course, big companies already had some reporting obligations previously, so we can expect that they are more prepared for those obligations. But the smaller companies, the companies with, lower income and lower employees quantity, they have some more transition time because of their situation. So, for example, the deadline for small and medium-sized companies is reporting due from 2027, which means they need to start preparing from 1st January 2026. So, generally, there are deadlines. They are different for different types of companies. So if you are a company that is, just meeting this reporting challenge, you need to actually see where you are in the classification. And then, of course, we are not recommending to wait, for the deadlines that are coming. It's very important to be proactive in that, because actually this is not, 1 day job. It is, making whole strategy, setting up some processes in the organizations. So that's why the proactiveness and not waiting for the deadlines is critically important. And of course, this is one aspect because this is reporting. And another aspect, of course, is the care about the environment and just doing that because of this, feel of responsibility towards the actual environment, world, humanity, etc.
Sure. So for me to maybe to simplify it a little bit or to summarize, big companies, meaning companies bigger than 500 employees, should start collecting the data, setting processes and so on and so forth from the very beginning, or from because it's a financial year. So when it starts after 1st January 2024, they should already start collecting the data and so on and so forth. That in 2025, they will report the whole year that passed.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And smaller companies will have exactly the same process, but a year later.
Yes.
Good. Okay, so this may sounds quite interesting because we basically have to prepare right now. Okay, so Basha, maybe you can talk about a little bit from the regulatory requirements, what we are talking about here in more detail, at least from the legal perspective.
So basically, you will need to be ready to show that you do anything or you do any measurable actions and set the KPIs for several aspects of your activity. And they are basically by the new CSRD directive divided into some groups. Yes, so you basically have some general general principles about the strategy, governance, and materiality assessments in your reporting, non-financial reporting. And then you have 3 groups of activities that you will need to basically address. And not address only at the level of reporting, but also address on the level of day-to-day management, on doing anything, basically. So you have the environmental information about climate change, about pollution, about water consumption, about biodiversity, about use of your resources and circular economy. And these are these environmental aspects. Then you will have, yes, this E. Then you will have the social information, and examples of those are, for example, how your own workforce is being structured, how it's diverse, for example, how you take care of your workers, how you take care of the workers in your value chain. So it means that not only your company counts, all small companies that you employ also will need to get involved in this whole managing and reporting initiative. And then you need to have the proper information about impact on your consumers, on end users of your products, and also on the communities that surround you. It's easy to define what's the community around a big infrastructure project, yeah? But maybe when you are producing coffee, you need to know what's happening around the plantation, yeah?
Sure.
So this is really, really big and challenging process in respect of all these areas. And the last of the areas is the corporate governance information. So it's all information how the company is being managed in transparent and responsible way. It's about your risk management. It's about your internal controls. It's about the business conduct, so about anti-corruption, privacy, codes of conduct, etc. So these are basically all imaginable, or maybe not all, but many areas that you need to somehow address. So basically, first of all, you need to define the strategy, define the actions, allocate the owners of that. This is a big management issue for each organization to really put that in order to be able to report anything at the end. And one of the aspects that is probably one of the biggest challenges is the KPI monitoring, because not only you need to have strategy, you need to monitor the efforts, yes? So at the end, you achieve your goals. You just don't let it go for a year and forget about that, yeah, at the end. You need to monitor what's happening basically on a regular basis. And then when it comes to resources that I hope will support the process, and I'm sure they will be on the market, these are all the systems that support the ESG agenda. So all the systems that allow to collect the data, to track the data, that are flexible, that are reflecting the nature of your business, that are reflecting the structure of your business, the entities, the countries, the factories, all the units that you have and that you need to report also. And also be open to the external stakeholders, because in many cases, you will need to collect the information from your external stakeholders like suppliers.
Sure.
And you need to know how much, for example, fuel they consume to deliver to you, for example. And these are the challenges resulting from the regulatory requirements, but also from the biggest trend, which is very much focused on making your business in a sustainable way. And this is, I think, the big challenge that will need to be addressed. And I think that many people, if not already now, then very soon will need to think about that.
Sure, it makes sense that if you want to make a change in modern world, you have to track it, you have to measure it, and you have to be able to prove that you are heading into the right direction. But before this podcast, I was talking with you and with Sylvia, and Sylvia mentioned something very interesting for me, that we do not necessarily have to think about this as a threat or as a problem for the given organization, because we also can find quite interesting opportunity. So, Sylvia, in order to not take your opinion as mine, can you expand on this whole idea of opportunity in this ESG world?
Of course. And yes, I agree with Basia that this is very challenging. And the companies that previously has no reporting obligations for sure needs to revise their processes. But I think except of looking at this as like license to operate, because, we all know that we must to do so. And there is no way to not, legally avoid that. So that's fact. But what we can see, there is also a huge opportunity right now that we need to use and can go parallel with this reporting requirement. Because, from one hand, for example, brand reputation, the companies that can demonstrate the commitment to ESG are seen as more ethical and reliable in the eyes of the customers, that's for sure. And when it comes to this, increased profitability, that's actually awesome because you can optimize your processes, looking for this, waste reduction, optimizing, some kind of production processes, manufacturing. And that may also affect your income at the end, which will be both positive for sustainability KPIs, but also for the company benefits. So having an example I don't know, let's take internal testing for hardware products. For example, if you are investing in internal testing, so you can avoid in the future with scrapping the waste or not compliant, not high quality products, you are saving a lot of money, discovering any issues on the early stage. So this is both beneficial for environment, but also it's huge money saving, cost saving for the company. So we need to also look at that as opportunity, that this is the driver that may also cause optimization of the whole way of working in business.
I also share this opinion with you that if you will do this measurement and reporting not once a year but more often, then you have time to react and you are not surprised after the year that something is not exactly as you want it to be. And constant measurement allows also constant change and tuning your processes, companies into the right directions, and of course it will have also a very positive effect at the end, right at the bottom line.
Yeah, and I think you raised a very valid point regarding not only waiting for the end of year with reporting and just treat this as legal obligation, but we need to treat it as map that is actually from beginning to the end of the year with us. And that we are navigating when we are seeing, for example, our cost regarding the electric energy increase, because maybe we are not using sustainable energy sources. Maybe we can change something. Maybe we can invest more in different sources of energy. Or maybe when we are seeing the percentage of the women in the governance bodies are decreasing, then we are also able to react on that. So then we are not, passive and just waiting for some number at the end of the year, but we are acting and we are making that change happen.
Sure, that's a very good point. Pasha, when you are sitting in or standing in a consultant shoes, so how would you approach those challenges in let's say now a structured manner from the point of view of dealing with this problem or this set of tasks? To be honest, maybe problem is not a good word even here.
I would definitely try to make this effort to understand your business from this ESG perspective. Yes, because not many of us make this thorough analysis of what impact we have, what can we do from sustainability perspective. So I would definitely start from ESG risks identification in your business model. So exactly for what you do, not looking on your competitors, not looking on the companies from abroad that do something maybe similar and, just, trying to copy, but really having this thorough analysis of what I am doing in this my small factory or my service company, and what does it affect? Yes. So I would start from that to be able to name the needs, the goals, the strategies, and draft any policies, yes, that you want to implement. And then you really need to engage internal and external stakeholders. First of all, to do this analysis. Second of all, to really know, to be able to do this materiality assessment, and to really know what your KPIs should be, because you need to be able to define the KPIs that are smart, so to say. So they basically need to be very specific. They need to be measurable, in some kind of, qualitative way. I don't know, quantitative or qualitative way. They need to be achievable, because it's not a pure art that you will basically set some ambitious goals that you will never achieve. It's really to be able to somehow to show the progress, yes, and it's also motivating for yourself to see that you do the progress, that you achieve the goals that you basically defined before, and they also need to be relevant. And this areas that should be relevant, they will be somehow predefined by the ESRS standards, reporting standards. So this you will need to definitely do, and then work with that hard. The whole organization need to work, and the whole organization need to be involved in data collection. And from my perspective, organizations usually do it, but they don't know even that they can basically use the sources that they already have also for ESG reporting. Yes, because you can get a lot of information from financial system where you have basically your invoices, or you can design it in a way that you will have that information in the system. HR system is a huge, I would say, bag with information that you can rely on, and these are usually quite correct. So in order to be, to be able to measure, to know what I am doing, whether the thing that I am doing is really efficient, it brings any benefits to my business, I really need to focus a lot on designing the proper strategy and proper data reporting system.
Sure, that is a good point. That usually most companies already have all this data, or are not even aware that they have, or only a small change requires in order to expand the amount of data that is required. But the tricky part is the integration and really identifying what and where and how should be connected to each other, right?
It's good to start already now, yeah? To know what you have.
And Sylvia, from I know that you are an auditor, you know how auditors look at it. So and you also are part of our team that is dealing with that in a very practical manner. So what's your perspective in order to let's say do it effectively? What is needed from your perspective?
Yeah, if I would get back to what Basia said regarding this nightmare of becoming this, sustainability manager and being like responsible to do all of the stuff regarding reporting, I would say like first you need to like identify where you are, if you are having any like team that will cover the needs, because we need to very clearly say that there are some, KPIs, some factors that can be quite easily like calculated. For example, like percentage of like gender in these governance bodies in the organization. But there are also some factors like in this carbon footprint calculations for emissions that are not, that simple. And that you need to have some background, some knowledge to even, understand them and do the proper calculations. So first question would be if the company has resources and, people that are specialists to even lead that activity. Because from my experience, it's looked like this previous reporting or ESG actions were often connected with like marketing. So, a lot of green stuff, we are green, all of this aspect of like greenwashing. So everything that can be presented on paper and look nice was the base of, environmental actions from most of the companies. However, today we are having very strict requirements on how to do the calculation, reporting, collect the data, and we need to be fully aware that it will not be done by some random person. It must be done by some specialist that knows the matter. That's why, of course, there are many of the companies handling the sustainability and having some, solution. For example, our company, Elitmind, is suggesting sustainability manager to support in emission and carbon footprint calculations, which, for example, solves the issue with this flying Excels and random data and ensure this data quality and availability. But then, of course, you are having another challenge. You need to identify where you have this data. And if you previously did not collect them in some structured way, you need to find a way. So then you need to see on the processes. And if the processes actually include this, data collection, if they are like repeatable, structured, or if there is a like human factor, so the processes are not really repeatable and, everything can happen in a way. So, in the next step, you need to focus on this data, how you will get this data, if the quality of the data is, sufficient, and then, start this integration and calculation. So basically, you need to have a people, you need to have data, you need to have the possibility to calculate everything, and then you need to fulfill all of the requirements regarding this reporting. So you need to be like auditable, you need to be able to prove that your calculation has some good source, that this is not, some random numbers. So that is why you need to have some system behind this. And regulation are never, pointing on some one solution. So of course, if there is, some perfect human that is doing no mistakes, of course it can be, calculated on the piece of paper. And, the regulations are not saying anything about the tools, but regulations required to have it like, auditable, repeatable, that you are having like versioning, references. So it's very hard to achieve that if it's not properly addressed in the organization. So that's why we are having the tools like Sustainability Manager to support this area. Because if something is reliable on the human factor, then it's not correct in the auditing world. We need to do, everything to minimize the risk of incorrectness. So that's my view, that we are having a lot of challenges in here, but a lot of opportunities that previously were not addressed and maybe were not, from someone's perspective worth to invest to. And now maybe the drivers come from this legal requirement and the obligation. But on the other hand, there's huge opportunity to use that to structure your processes and actually build something new from that initiatives.
I agree. When I think about it right now, after all that you said, I come to some conclusion that this is also my experience that usually ESG reporting was some kind of PR related actions or processes, and now it becomes a little bit like change management framework inside the organization. So both having carrot and a stick a little bit, I would say, and now it needs to be treated more seriously, even more seriously than before. And this technical side of this whole enterprise, let's call it like that, is nothing new. Basically, every time that we have a regulation touching some kind of area that comes with auditing requirements, it usually means, okay, let's stop doing it manually usually in Excel form. We need some kind of application that allows traceability, auditability, that we see how everything was changed, how it was calculated and based on what data. And let's be honest, it's a good thing that we are a little bit pushed to be more trustworthy and being able to prove that indeed that is the case with our for instance emissions KPIs, right, at the end of the day.
I also have one addition I made. There is also one aspect that is tricky and challenging for the organization, because there is no one solution to do this right. This solution to, have this process of implementation of sustainability reporting and whole ESG needs to be custom made for the company, because you can imagine, totally different emissions for the company as like Elitmind, where we, sit in front of the PC and maybe have some business travels, and totally different scopes for the manufacturing company. So we need to look at that it is not like copy-pasting process. This is very like customized process. That's why it is really worth to use also the experts, the company that know how to proceed with that kind of processes and how to create the processes around that will fit the organization needs. Because of course, the whole process to work properly must be also customized to the way of working of the whole business. So that is another challenge that I see, and that's quite risky because, everyone loves copy pasting, everyone loves like ChatGPT, and it's quite easy to find some information online. But then you need to be actually have some knowledge to assess if that's actually applicable for your company, for your type of business. So that's another thing. But Basia, I interrupt you, so please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Sylwia. I just wanted to mention that the philosophy of collecting, like governing and then reporting the data will be similar to financial reporting. This is not a rocket science. This is just a different type of data that we will need to track and collect. And I guess that over time, this all will somehow unify, and this will not be anymore any elephants, unknown thing that you need to somehow decode. It will be something very standard, same way as the financial reporting happened, right? One day. Everybody does it. Everybody knows that it's needed. Nobody discusses. There is a know-how on the market. And now what we are in the process of building that know-how for different type of data.
Yeah, also, that makes sense. Also, if you think of that financial reporting, also it's the different financial reporting for the Elitmind company or for the big manufacturing company. But that also means that that we can help, because from our perspective, where we look at it, it's data integration tasks, smart data integration tasks, so not typical boxed approach, but as Sylvia said, customized approach with some layer of application on top in order to address the regulatory requirement. But I also concur that it really is needed to start with this maybe conceptual strategy point of view that you, Basia, mentioned. So the way I see the typical project is, okay, let's meet, let's discuss the strategy, let's see how the processes work right now, let's identify the data sources, then have some kind of application. We have this kind of application together with Microsoft, the Sustainability Manager and our customizable parts. And let's fit this, maybe not a strict box, but this flexible box according to the things that we discovered at the first stage. And I think this kind of project will be the ESG reporting from our perspective and also from the customer perspective, working with potentially with us, right?
Yes. So I think what needs to be underlined in here, that and also Basia was mentioning that we need to eat elephant piece by piece. So it's iterative process, and if you are proactive and if you are like starting this process soon enough that you have some time to adjust, then you can start from some piece of the scope. You don't need to start everything at once. So you can just start at piece of the scope, and then go through the end-to-end process, and then see and have some lessons learned from that way that can be applied for all other reporting areas. So that's very important, to not be intimidated by the workload and the full scope of whole ESG reporting, but rather to pick something that is most user friendly area, and then start with it, learn from from the mistakes and from the way, and then apply it for all the rest. So that's why you need to start already now, so you are having the time for it.
Sure, but the time is actually quite urgent. I have one story maybe that I would like to share, because I had the opportunity last Friday to be at quite a big energy conference, and one of the company's representative, there was a company that the task was to produce the machinery for the mining companies, for the energy companies. Now they transformed and they produce specific energy transformators and so on, and this kind of hardware for renewables. And what this representative thought, that they had a visit from the Western big automotive company, which they are part of or are planning to be part of a supply chain for this company. And the representatives of this automotive group said, okay, we want to work with you, but please show me your ESG reporting. And how did you calculate your KPIs? And even with the suggestion that we may introduce an auditor who will check if what you're saying is true. So it's becoming very real, I would say, right now. So it's not only the theoretical part, but that there will be an effect on the way we are doing business. Of course, it's not as hard as it may seem at the very beginning, and I agree with you, Sylvia, that this kind of phasing of approach, not doing everything at once is a good strategy to make quite clear transition and change management in order to satisfy those regulations. Did you, Basia or Sylvia, or maybe let's start with Basia, did you already had some discussions or experiences in the way that I'm describing? Had you had the opportunity to talk with some business representative from your internal network of connections?
Yes, I do. And this is on the agenda of basically everyone dealing with sustainability, any aspect of sustainability, whether it's governance, whether it's social, for example, health and safety, or whether this is environment. Everybody is basically monitoring what's happening. Some of the companies, big companies listed or companies from the financial sector already have some experiences in that. And many companies mention same things, and these things are the ones that I listed in the beginning. So, solid strategy. So basically, you know what you want to do and what you want to achieve. Good KPIs. Allocating people to that task, owners and experts. And at the end, good process of collecting and reporting data. I would say that this is the voice of this environment. And I think that it's not only the regulations that push companies towards that, it's also the issue of having investors into your shares or of having financial institutions wanting to give you some money to finance you. This is becoming more and more important, regardless of what size you are. And there is no way to escape. Everybody will be in the same basket in the end, probably in 2027, to a smaller or greater extent. But the problems will be basically the same for everyone. The chances will be the same for everyone. And the winner will be the one who will, take the opportunities and manage the risks. Yeah.
Sure. So adapt in order to win and thrive, basically. All right. Maybe one more question to end, because this situation is quite evolving quite a bit. So maybe Sylvia, from your perspective, if you are looking or trying to stay up to date with the informations, or how do you keep up? What is your source of trusted informations in terms of ESG and the changes of regulations and so on?
Oh, and that's a very tricky question, actually, because for this normal, living person that is maybe not, into the regulatory world, I cannot say that there is like easy one source of the information. The issue is like right now we are all overwhelmed with the information from each angle. One are more accurate than others, but what for sure is worth to search are the special compliance related circles and initiatives on LinkedIn. So this is some of the information source that usually is more correct and accurate than other sources. But if you want to have the real information, it's actually the European Commission page, and generally reading the directive and regulations yourself. So it's not, the easy answer, because normal person is not, reading the regulation during weekends. So we need to, honestly say that's why we are having experts that understand that topic. That's why we are having that kind of services at Elitmind or in other companies, because this is not the common knowledge, and this is the tricky part, that you need to be up to date. You need to read the revisions, you need to track all the releases. So it's not very obvious, but of course there is some area of those LinkedIn accounts that can be shared and are reliable in some percentage.
So actually, there is one simple answer. Talk with us, and we are happy.
Of course.
We are happy to help. But seriously, this is. We are very open for this kind of discussions. We have two perspectives, as everyone already had the opportunity to hear. So both from the regulatory perspective, I think you, Basia, are more than happy to answer the questions, as well as you, Sylvia, from the implementation and the auditing part of this whole equation. So maybe on this high note, thank you very much for this discussion. Don't hesitate to contact us directly via LinkedIn or through official channels. And even though it may look a little bit scary, there really is a sensible solution for that, and a strategy that makes this challenge much more doable.
What we can add at the end is all about the attitude also, because we cannot see at these environmental actions at some numbers and that we need to comply to, but we need to see it as our culture. And I think if we will have this shift in our minds, it will be much easier to adjust to those changes. And that would be, my last message.
Basia, any last words?
Yeah, I am by nature quite optimistic. So I am sure that the companies and the market will find the solutions to address the challenges. And as I said, the smartest ones will win with a better business, better opportunities, better financial standpoint. So I would really look at that as an opportunity with some challenges on the way, but these are really to be addressed from different perspectives. Yes.
And to that high note, thank you very much, and see you soon on the next episode of ElitTalk. Thanks and bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.